Well, Canadian postal workers could go on strike by the end of the week as contract negotiations near the one-year mark. The union representing workers at Canada Post has now issued a 72-hour strike notice. And that means if an agreement isn't reached, workers will be in a legal position to strike as of Friday. The union says, while the notice has been given, its National Executive Board has yet to determine when a strike would take place. And CTV's Colton Praill is following this story for us today. Good morning, Colton. What do we know about what a strike could look like?
Yeah, well, Renee, we're looking at about 60,000 employees represented by these two bargaining units that cover both rural and suburban delivery as well as urban parcel delivery. This is essentially the entirety of the services. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean all 60,000 of these workers would necessarily be part of that labor disruption. That's something that we've reached out to Canada Post to seek clarity on. But the scale at which we are talking, the number of representatives here is incredibly significant. And of course, this comes right in the lead up to holiday shopping. You've got Black Friday coming up in 2 weeks. The timing of this is incredibly significant as well. This disruption, as you correctly point out, though, isn't necessarily 100% certain to happen. There are off-ramps here, even in the releases that we've seen from the union and from the employer itself. The union saying that if there was progress at the negotiating table, that they may not necessarily need to take this labor action. We've also seen comments from Canada Post itself saying that they are in a very tricky and challenging financial situation, and that should labor action be something that is set to occur, they may need to revise their own proposals. There is a desire to avert this type of job action, certainly from Canada Post side, in large part due to their financial situation. This is a Crown corporation that has lost $3 billion over the last 5 years or so. In the first 6 months of this year, they lost nearly $500 million, $490 million in 6 months. Last year, it was just shy of $750 million. I mean, the concern here from a financial aspect is incredibly strong. So there is certainly the chance for an off-route. What necessarily they'll need to see at the bargaining table from the union side in order for them to decide not to take labor action, that part they haven't clarified. And we've reached out to them for more details around what types of proposals they'd be willing to consider. But so far, we haven't heard a response back on what exactly they need to avert this kind of job action.
Mm-hmm. Colton, COVID really threw a wrench in some Christmases. It really hurt a lot of people. This is happening ahead of the holiday shopping season. How much of an impact could this have?
Absolutely. I mean, this is something where we've already seen the Retail Council of Canada discussing how concerned they are by this potential job action. Obviously, the Christmas season, the holiday shopping season, those are some of the busiest times for Canada Post. It will have less of an impact than perhaps in years past, just because the amount that Canada Post delivers itself as a share of the e-commerce market has shrunk quite significantly. If you look back prior to the pandemic, they had just over 60% of the e-commerce market share. That number's now down to below a third. And so the amount of people who are relying on this to receive those parcels is much lower. But if you're talking things like letters, for example, that you're sending out, Christmas cards that you might give out still, those things are going to be highly impacted by any kind of labor disruption. And of course, if you are doing that Black Friday shopping, this again is going to be something that is certainly in the back of your mind if you're a business owner, if you're preparing for that kind of holiday rush.
Certainly nobody wants any more disruptions. All right. CTV's Colton Praill in Ottawa. Thanks for this, Colton.
Absolutely.